Big Z Reviews. Hi, my name is Brandon Zarzyczny, but you can call me Big Z. And today I'm doing a book review for The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. And this is once again a new series from him that's set in a new world. It's something that you don't see too often in the fantasy genre. You're an author that doesn't overstay his welcome in the book worlds that he creates. And it's funny though, it's interesting that in this one, like this is kind of like a multiversal, multi-time kind of voyage. And that like there's a couple of like before each chapter, there's like a quote from a book. The whole idea is that in this world, there's this giant library that's like always existed or was maybe created by someone you don't really know, and like they explore it, and like and every book that was ever written will be in this library somewhere, and that like but like a couple times like the quotes that before a chapter will be from characters from one of his other books, his other worlds, like what is one by Sister Apple, which is from like the Red Sister, like the Magic Nun trilogy, and the end was also a two trilogies set in that world. But it's like truth is the most insidious of poisons, but there are many alternatives that serve almost as well. As with comedy, delivery is a vital component. If the target is aware of the attack, the chances for success are immediately much reduced. Yeah, but she was like an assassin in that one, and like she was the teacher of poisons in the books. And there's just that like there's the one from the Prince of the one quote is from Prince of Fools by Mark Lawrence. So like start a tale, just a little tale that should fade and die. Take your eye off it for just a moment, and when you turn back, it's grown big enough to grab you in its teeth and shake you. That's how it is. All our lives have tales. Some spread and grow in the telling. Others are just told between us and the gods, muttered back and forth between our days. But those tales grow too and shake us as just as fierce. I love the idea that he put a quote from one of his own books as a quote from the book in this world, in this library. It's kind of it's really fun, and this book, like, it's a fancy book, but they could have easily sold it more as like a young adult fantasy. But it definitely has some of those tropes, because like there's like a romance angle, and then a love, like a will they or won't they sort of aspect to the book that is really interesting, and I think that the young adult fans would love. But basically, the main character of the story is Liberia, and like she is like living in the dust of this world that like it looks like the world has been changed. Like it could be our world, could be some other magic world, but most of the world is dust, the outlands, and then there are cities elsewhere, especially one big city that surrounds and grew up around the library, and that there's also these other beings, like almost like these like cat people that like get highly evolved like cat people that they come and destroy her village and like kill everyone and take a bunch of the kids as hostage, and that then they're traveling, and then a soldier from a group of soldiers from the city of the library kind of kill the cat people and take the kids to the city to save them. But like she has proved to be something different, but she has like photographic memory, and like she saves the one soldier, like dives into this sandworm like to save him, and that like he decides to turn he needs to repay her saving him by putting her giving her a chance to be something else than just like the trash, like cleaning the gutters and sewers, like all the other children of the dust probably would become. And that then she proves herself that she's a very interesting case, and so that she becomes to be trained as a librarian. And like as when she's in the library, she starts finding interesting things, and that like these like automatons that like they're the librarians, the real librarians. They take care of the library, but a lot of them are don't work anymore. Like they've been there for like millennia, but they like she finds interesting things and she goes into an area between spaces, like something between time and space, that like all of the different like mechanical beings access to find every book that was ever written and restock the library when it's been burned. And whenever a generation of whatever beings that read come and go, they always are keeping the library in stock. But like she goes there and then she meets this man that is very interesting and very intriguing, and that is Avar. And that then you see like you kind of go back and forth between their chapters. And Avar, he is and from a different time, and he is like he is was raised with like a kind of like an adopted family of other kids. That there's like this like a virtual reality thing room, that if you take a book into it, you live inside the book. And that like essentially these kids every once in a while, for they like these people that lived in the library for generations, a kid would go in and wouldn't come back out. And that now that the virtual reality thing shot them back out like hundreds of years in the future, and they're kind of teaching them, and they're like while they were in the books, whatever book they took in, they're like masters of it. So like his Avar's like brothers and sisters were like he's kind of a jack of all trades, but he doesn't remember what book he took in. But like the other ones, there's like a master warrior, there's a master like assassin, there's a psychologist, there's a historian, you know. So it's really interesting stuff. Like he's always searching for a girl that he doesn't remember, but he knows he like his love of his life, and he needs to find. And he's able to find a way into the space in between space and time, and they meet each other there. And it's so interesting because they're in the real world they're separated by maybe millennia, hundreds of years, thousands of years, who knows. But when they're in the space in between time, like they're together. And like, but she first comes there like she's still a child, but then like she goes back, and then each time, like for him it's been only minutes when he's exploring this other world, and how that you can. I love the way they do it, like with, you know, Mark Lawrence is always really interesting with his how he creates these worlds, and mixing science fiction and fantasy. And like he had a great time travel book that like actually did it really interestingly. And this has slightly time travel too, but the idea is that if like when you're in this time between spaces, like it tries to make something that the brain could decipher. So like it have like these pools or these portals, and each one, if you go down one way, that's different times. And if you go down the other way, like perpendicular, it'd be different universes. But if you're careful, if you go in the universe in your time or in the future, like you may not be able to breathe the air that world built. And it's so many interesting moments, and really I love his writing and how like you're able to picture what these things look like. It's really creative. But like the idea is that, but if you go back in time, because you can't really change what happened before that. So if you go back in time, you're like a ghost, and you can witness important moments from that time, but you can't change anything. And you know, each time Liveria goes back, like she goes back to becoming a great librarian, and being like and knowing all the different languages, and being smarter and growing older. And like she each time, like until she comes back and finally she's an adult now, and they can actually maybe have a relationship. And of course things happen that maybe they're star-crossed lovers, and maybe that's not meant to be. And there's a lot of drama with that, and it's really interesting creative drama. And again, with the whole, like with the, I don't want to spoil anything, but with aspects of this, I feel like a lot of different people would love some aspects of it. with how popular some stuff like romance novels are, and with like different beasts and things like non-human, like monster men and stuff like that. I think like different. I think there some if people that are not normally just straight fantasy readers. I think if I don't know, they didn't really advertise this because I think it's tough because they don't want to spoil anything. But the romance aspect and the star-crossed lovers and there's some stuff here that a lot of people would love to read. I feel like, but I don't know how Mark Lawrence or the publisher needs to figure out a way to sell that to them. From the cover, it just looks like a library. It's like it doesn't show that aspect of the book. Maybe in the sequels you could do something interesting with the covers, but I don't know if they want to do that. But something more pulpy. But you could definitely do a pulpy, a pulpy version of this book with covers. You could definitely do, and it could probably sell a lot more books. Let me just say, but I really enjoyed it. I probably give like a 9 out of 10. Like it's probably not my favorite of Mark Lawrence's books, but it's definitely great, and I can't wait to see where the series goes. I won't spoil anything, but the end, things are different in the end. So I have no idea where this library trilogy will end up. It's so interesting because like there's different times going on, and there's different like world-ending events going on, but the world keeps turning, and that like you don't know what's gonna happen. I'm really curious. So if you're a fan of fantasy, and if you're a fan of romance novels or young adult kind of like will they won't they romantic drama sort of things with fantasy, I think you would really like it. But thanks for watching. If you want to see more of me, you can subscribe down below. Thanks.